Good evening to one and all present here. My name is Aniket Paul, and on behalf of the whole Think India fraternity, I welcome you to the second BD Talks for the month of January. Today, we have a very important and interesting topic in front of us, which we are going to discuss. The topic goes as the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, which was introduced in the year 2016 by this government. And we have an expert in the field, Mr. Rajendra Beniwal, who is going to make us aware about what is this all about and how it is helping us change the whole scenario of regarding bankruptcy and insolvency. So, brief introduction about Mr. Rajendra Beniwal. Mr. Rajendra Beniwal is an advocate in the Supreme Court, and he has passed out from Gujarat National Law University in the year 2014. After which he did he worked for some firm in Bombay for 1.5 years, where he appeared before Bombay High Court and the city civil courts and the tribunals. In 2015, he shifted to Delhi, and he uh, uh, worked in Indian law, which is a litigation firm. In 2018, he started his own law firm called the Karma Law Associates, and he appears regularly before Supreme Court, High Court, National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, and the NCLTs. He is very sought after he is most sought after young professional by the insolvency professional and the people who practice IBC. Without much ado, I would request sir to address the audience.
Good evening, all. I think we don't require this mic. Yes. So, what do you know about IBC? Because this is always, whenever you open the newspaper, you find one or two news pertaining to the IBC. Correct? Either this is with respect to some judgment of the Supreme Court interpreting the IBC provisions, or you find out that some of the companies has become insolvent or the bankrupt. So anybody can explain what do you understand by the word insolvency? Pragati?
So when the company or any financial institution is not able to bill their debts, and so they are claim insolvency in order to show that they are incapable of paying what they owe to others, banks.
What is the meaning of the word insolvency? See, the name of the code is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. There are two words mainly. First is insolvency. So what do you understand by the word insolvency? Any of the student?
So when the liability faced by a company is more than the assets which they have, so they are not able to repay.
You mean to say when the liability exceeds its net worth?
Yes, sir.
Correct. And what do you mean by the bankruptcy?
So bankruptcy is the end result when the person is not able to pay back the loan or the debts he has taken. He is declared to be insolvent, and then the procedure is followed where
Declared as a bankrupt.
he is declared as a bankrupt, which is an end result that now all his assets would be sold off, and the creditors would be getting the loans which they have taken back.
So how much will be getting that depend upon the assets of the persons or of the entity. And why this is named as a code? Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. This is not an act. So what is the difference? Why the word used is code, not act? See, these are very, very simple, very common.
So because it is a consolidated, so code is something which is consolidated from many other acts, and the insolvency and bankruptcy have been followed from the company's law.
What is the difference between an act and code?
Code is the exhaustive bill. There cannot be any law except this.
And what is act?
There can be other laws on the same topic.
See, you are law students. So I am asking all those questions so as to know where do you stand. I can start my lecture from that level. It should not go above your head. code means it includes substantial law as well as the procedural aspect. You have civil procedure code. You must have read in your college. You have criminal procedure code, but you have evidence act. You have Indian penal code. Then Indian Contract Act, Income Tax Act. All those are acts. Those are mainly the substantial law. Over here, this is extractive. The substantial law as well as the procedure which is applicable in the insolvency and bankruptcy process, entire process is explained over here. There is no need to take help of any other act or any other legislation. Everything is covered in this one code, which will govern the insolvency and bankruptcy. Now, who are affected by this code, insolvency and bankruptcy code? Which are the entity of the persons which are covered?
So companies, partnership firm, individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And
Correct. See, I'll tell you. There are two processes under this IBC. First is corporate insolvency resolution process. Now, corporate word in itself. See, I'll explain the term only. Corporate insolvency resolution process. Corporate means there must be some corporate entity. So that is applicable to an corporate entity. It must be a private, limited or limited entity company registered under the Indian Companies Act. To regulate or to govern the corporate entity, the process is called corporate insolvency resolution process. Now, with respect to the individual or partnership firm, the process is called the bankruptcy process, which is different. There are different chapters. Different chapters govern the CRP, and there are different chapters for the purpose of bankruptcy. Now, when I use the word CRP, corporate insolvency resolution process, jurisdictions of the CRP lies with the NCLT, whereas the jurisdictions for the purpose of individual partnership firms lies with the DRT. That is not yet been notified completely. Only against the guarantors, the bankruptcy process has been notified, that too in 1st December 19. Now, whatever you are seeing in the newspaper, that is only the CIRP, which is corporate insolvency resolution process against the companies, not against the individual. You haven't seen the news or you haven't come across any news that some person has been declared bankrupt, have you? But you must have come across some news that this company has become insolvent, right? So I'll explain you how do you approach NCLT. Who can approach NCLT under this code? There are three modes. One is a financial creditor. Do you know who is a financial creditor? Or do you know what do you mean by creditor?
One who gives a loan.
Or any kind of liability, right? There are two kinds of creditor for the purpose of this IBC. One is financial creditor and second is the operational creditor. Financial creditor means anybody. I'll use the simple language only. Anybody who is given a loan. Loan means any amount which is given to that person. Against this amount, what you will record? That same amount, which is the principal amount, plus interest. It means to fit into the definition of a financial creditor, there must be principal, at the same time there must be some agreement to pay interest. The code defines the term used is for the interest time value for money. It means if today I lend 100 rupees, I enter into an agreement with B saying that after 5 years you will pay me A plus B. B is time value money, means that principal amount whatever I have given. If I have given 100 rupees, you will pay me interest at the rate of 8%, 9%, 12%, 18%, whatever it is. So there has to be this time value component, means this the principal amount should increase as the time passes. That is the main ingredient of a financial debt. And what do you mean by operational curtain or operational debt? Anybody? It has to be two-way communications. Yes.
One who provides with machines, infrastructure, place to work in.
Mm-hmm.
So those are different from the money which is given to start a business. Rather, those are the like place to have the company or the infrastructure or the machines which are used in the process by the company.
Mm-hmm. Anybody?
So during your course of business.
Correct. But-
Suppose
yes.
I'm manufacturing something, or that is my, suppose I'm an airline, so I am running my operations day to day, and in that, if I'm not able to sustain myself, if I'm not
Mhm.
able to break even of the amount of rupee I have spent, I'm not getting that much return. So I am in an operational debt.
Yes, I'll tell you. Operational debt, as per the IBC, is any debt which is arising out of goods provided or services rendered. Say for example, I sell you 100 copy of this IBC, this code. This is supply of the goods. So the money which you are supposed to pay me back is against some goods, right? At the same time, if you approach me as an advocate, as a client, you approach me, I'll give my services. I'll represent you in a court. The money which you are supposed to pay me is against my services, which I rendered and which you availed. These both comes within the purview of the operational debt. Now, a financial creditor can file in applications under section 7 of the IBC. And an operational creditor can file an application under section 9 of the IBC. There are one more mode by which the CRP can be triggered, which is section 10 applications. In a way, you can say, if a company comes to a conclusion that its debt exceeded its net worth, it's not viable for the entity to further continue the operations. So company pass a resolution saying that we want to take this company into this CRP process. Why? Because our net worth is eroded, or net worth is zero, less than zero, because their debt is more, asset is less. They are unable to operate, continue. In that case, if they pass a resolution among the board of director, along with the resolution, of course, they can file a section 10 application before the NCLT, wherein they have to give notice to all the creditor. Creditor can move objection, file an objection against the section 10 applications. Why? Because creditor are the stakeholders. Now what I'll do, I'll explain you what is the difference between, or what are the things which NCLT look into when you file section 7, section 9 or section 10 applications. Correct? Now in section 7 application, which is filed by the financial creditor, there has to be a financial debt, and there has to be a default of rupees 1 lakh or more. These are the only two things which NCLT is supposed to look into in an argument or in admission of an application under section 7. There has to be debt, financial debt, and there is a default which is more than 1 lakh rupees. Do you know that section 7, section 9 are all these the CRP proceedings, whether these are recovery proceedings or not? Whether the proceedings under the IBC code are recovery proceeding or not? Because this pertain to money only. All those are money-minded people. Why somebody will file a case against somebody? Because you must have produced so many papers, so many files. When there are disputes of some rights and obligations, right? Then only you will approach the court. Otherwise, why you will approach the court? What is the purpose of these proceedings under the IBC? See, these are not recovery. If you will go by the objective of the IBC code, it clearly says these are not recovery proceedings. The purpose of entire CIRP, which is corporate insolvency resolution process. Now, what do you mean by resolution? What do you understand by the word resolution? Resolution means in this entire process, they will try to find out a scheme which in a way make a strategy, make a scheme, ultimately benefit the company, or company is able to remain as a going concern. Do you understand what is the meaning of the going concern? कुछ तो बताओ. What is the meaning of a company as a going concern?
Where a company is supposed to run for indefinite period of time.
No, sir. So it means
It's
that
good.
it does not. It means that the court tries that it does not get insolvent or bankrupt.
Now, say for example, Reliance. You must have heard about it. Reliance Industries Limited is a going concern or not?
It is all companies are going concern. The going concern concept is just that the companies, without assuming anything, they should run on day-to-day operation as they are without any hindrance.
It means that there should be operations going on in that company. It means what? Company should continue to operate, continue to function. Otherwise, what will happen? What will happen if company is not a going concern? It is not operating.
They go into losses.
It has to close its doors, right? And what is the way out? Say for example, if as a person, एक दिन सांस लेना बंद कर दिया, what will happen? So what you will do? The family will do? They will perform last right. Correct? So similarly, what happens when a company closes its operations? It shuts its doors. There is no operation in the company. What will happen?
No money will be made.
No, what will happen? That company will remain. Now, who will shut down? What is the process to shut it down?
Liquidation and then
Winding up term is no more there. Now,
Insolvent.
winding up used to be there in the Indian Companies Act.
Indian company.
So what will happen?
The company will declare itself as insolvent, and then the proceedings will start. And then all these assets will be liquidated, and
So what do you understand by the term liquidate or liquidation?
pre-decided, liquidated.
No, liquidation means there are two processes. One is CIRP. Okay, let me explain you. I think you are all are blank. See what I'll explain. I'll give the example of section 7, section 9, section 10. Then we will come to the CIRP process. Then we will explain the what is the liquidation process. Okay. So when somebody filed a section 7 petition, say for example, State Bank of India has filed a petition against company A for saying that there are default of around 1000 crore, and there are around currently also there are more than 100 employees who are working. Operations are going on, but the account of the company has turned NPA. NPA means
Non-performing asset.
when it becomes NPA,
When it cannot pay back the debt it has taken.
when there is a
90
default,
days.
default in the payment of the EMIs. Because when you take a loan, there has to be some EMIs. When the default occurs, what bank will do? No, declaration of the NPA is as per the RBI guidelines. If there is a default which will continue for 90 or more days, then bank as per the RBI guideline can turn that account as NPA. Means assets are there. You see, you as being a law student, you have to be very, very sensitive, very careful when you come across any term. NPA means non-performing assets. Means there are assets, but those are non-performing. So where those are assets, asset means there is a company. When bank give a loan, they must take some security, right? There must be some property mortgage with the banks, but those assets are not paying you back. Say for example, this is a conference room. If nobody comes here, nobody take it on rent, so it becomes non-performing because it doesn't generate any revenue. So when in an account, bank are not receiving any the repayment of the loan, it becomes assets is there, but it becomes non-performing, right? So as per the RBI guideline, bank will term this account as non-performing account (NPA) and transfer this account to the branch to take further steps, because those are RBI's as per the RBI guidelines. When the account will become NPA, then further steps has to be taken to take the steps so that there is a recovery of the amount. See, one thing which you need to clearly note in mind: bank money is public money. Bank, whatever money they are lending is public money. Because why there is such hue and cry when say that Vijay Mallya has taken loan of such 9,000 crore or 15,000 crore, Nirav Modi has taken a loan. Why we as being a common man, why we are affected? Because you will say those are bank money. Why we being a common man, why we are affected? Whatever money is there with the banks, those all are public money. Because those are savings of some other persons. Those are investment of some other persons. They are secure with the bank. If the banking system will fail, everything will collapse. Right? So bank have to act for the larger public interest. They can't lend money to anybody. If bank will start lending the money without any regulations, what will happen? Entire economy will fail. Correct? So there are role of RBI. There are various watchdogs which keep an eye on all those things. Now we were discussing what will happen when a Section 7 application is filed in NCLT, right? So NCLT will look after when there is a default. Because when I find out that you doesn't know about all those basic things, I have to go back and explain you. Because we were at the point of discussing the default. How the bank will prove the default? Bank have to prove the default by showing that this account is turned NPA and this company is unable to pay its debt. Bank, after turning the account as NPA, bank will take some action under the SARFAESI Act. You know SARFAESI Act? Recovery of banks due to. Anybody is aware about DRT, Debt Recovery Tribunal? Why Debt Recovery Tribunal was established? Who can file a case in DRT? Those are courts. Come on, those are tribunals. Only bank or financial institution can file a case or petition in the DRT against some loan of this default, right? In a way, DRT is a designated civil court for banks and financial institutions for the case of for the purpose of recovering their debts. Similarly, DRT, I am explaining you because DRT is a recovery proceedings. Over here, under the IBC is not a recovery proceedings. This is the proceeding for the purpose of resolution, to find out a better resolution and to ensure that there is a maximization of the value of the assets. Because I use the word NPA, non-performing assets. assets has become non-performing. What bank will do? Bank file a section 7 petition, approach the NCLT saying that look, there is a 1,000 crores of debt is there, account has turned into NPA, there is a default. Please initiate the corporate insolvency resolution process. The NCLT will issue notice to the other parties. Which will be the other party? The other will be the company only. The management will come forward. They will dispute the existence of the debt, which they cannot because there are documents on record and there is a default on record. After going through all those things, as per this provision in the IBC, NCLT is supposed to admit an application within 14 days. As per the provisions, but actually it takes 3-4 months or in fact 6 months, more than that. You be careful when I use the word admission, right? I say when the application will be admitted. What does it mean? Admission means there is an initiation of a new process. Admission of section 7 petition means the NCLT will appoint a insolvency professional. You know insolvency professional? You must have heard about the term insolvency professional. You must have heard about the term liquidator.
Yes.
What is liquidator?
A company who is
थोड़ा
engaged.
बहुत गूगल करके आया करो.
A company who is engaged in the who is appointed by the, like suppose SBI has debt on someone,
Mhm.
so SBI will appoint a liquidator who will,
SBI can't.
the court will,
Court will. NCLT.
yes, NCLT.
I'll explain. Insolvency professional. Can you become an insolvency professional?
If we clear the exam, then we can.
Which exam?
So there is an exam for professionals.
So who are eligible to clear the exam?
CAs,
And
Advocates who have practiced for a certain time.
10 years.
10 years.
You also have a huge bright career as an insolvency professional. Insolvency professionals are nothing but the professionals who are registered with the IBBI as insolvency professional. They have to clear an exam, they have to qualify certain eligibility criteria, and they have to pass the exam, which exam will show that they have the ability to ensure that they are able to able to take care of the CIP process. Now, when the section 7 application, I'm still at section 7 application. Section 7 application is admitted. A insolvency professional will be appointed as interim resolution professional, IRP. And as per section 14 of the IBC, a moratorium period will be declared. What do you mean by moratorium? See, each term I have to stop.
So no further proceeding can be initiated during that process against the debtor.
Yes. What do you mean by moratorium? See, these are legal terms. So when I explain, when I use the word moratorium, you should understand. Otherwise, it will go above your head. Moratorium means kind of stay. When I say the stay means stay तो सुना होगा कि सर आज stay मिल गया कोर्ट से. Stay का क्या मतलब है?
To prohibit any other further action.
Yes. Injunction means you have to maintain status quo. Moratorium means, say for example, SBI approach NCLT or NCLT admit the application against company A. There are 10 cases which are going on against the company in different courts, district court, high court, supreme court. I am saying those cases are going against company, right? So what will happen? as an effect of the moratorium under Section 14, all those cases there will be automatic stay. Because this is the effect of the NCLT order or the commencement of the CRP process. What is the objective? So you try to understand the objective. Objective of the CRP is trying to find out a resolution. How to resolve it? Resolution means you try to resolve the dispute, right? And what is the problem over here in this case? Debt. The liability. Correct? So in the entire CRP process, the objective is to try to resolve it. Resolve it and then make the company viable company. Correct? That is the only resolution. The only objective. Now, if somebody NCLT appoint one insolvency professional, they initiate the CRP process, which is a time-bound process. Now, the time limit of the CRP process is 180 days, which is 6 months. 6 months, and there are huge lot of steps which IRP or RP is supposed to take. If in one way IRP is or the CRP process is going on, they are trying to find out some resolution to the debt or the issues in some other proceedings. Court will pass any other order against the company. So new issue will come up. Some further liability will come up. So what will happen to the resolution? This will be affected. So that is the reason there is a moratorium saying that whatever the liability or assets of the company is there as on the date of the commencement of the CRP, that has to be taken into considerations, that has to be put on a table before the concerned stakeholder. They will discuss, they will evolve something, they will, there is a process. I'll tell you, once the IRP is appointed, what he is supposed to do? He is supposed to issue a public notice in the newspaper, as well as he has to upload a public notice on the website of the IBBI. What is the public notice? That public notice is for the purpose of informing all the stakeholders to submit, informing all the stakeholders regarding commencement of the CRP against the company and calling for claim against this company. Say for example, a company A has gone into CRP. There are various suppliers of that company whose invoices are pending. So what they are supposed to do? They are supposed to combine all those invoices. There is a particular form. There are various forms in the IBC code for different purpose. They have to combine all those invoices in one form which is applicable. Submit to the IRP, which is interim resolution proportional, or later on he will become an RP. Or bank also they have to file proof of claim. Now the role of the IRP is to collect all those proof of claim, then make a table. Then see, look, I have received claim from the financial creditor to the tune of 50 crore. And then he will say, I have received claim from the operational creditor to the tune of, say for example, 10 crore. Then there are other liabilities of the employees also. Because if company is not doing good, the situation may arise where it is unable to pay the salary of these employees. Employee will also have to submit the proof of claim before the IRP. Now, when I say they have to submit the proof of claim, why it is required? What is the objective? You need to understand the objective behind each and every step. Then only you will understand the entire purpose. What is the objective of the public notice? First is intimation to all the stakeholders that this process has been initiated against this company. Whoever's interest or stakes are involved, they should come forward and submit the information to the IRP. Correct? At the same time, IRP is supposed to, because you need to know what are your liability and what are your assets. then only you can make your plan, correct? So IRP is supposed to collect all the details of the liability, at the same time all the detail of the assets which are available or assets of the company, movable, immovable, and the ongoing project also. He need to, one more obligation of the IRP is to ensure that the company remains as a going concern. Means if company is operational, they are doing some, they are producing or they are the manufacturer, they are producing some special kinds of goods, they should continue to do it, they should continue to supply it, they should continue to produce it and sell it, operate it. They should not stop. Now the one more term I will use, which is the committee of Carter. Have you heard? कमेटी ऑफ कर्टर, COC क्या होता है?
So the committee of creditors is generally formed by the financial creditors who would take the step in the resolution process that how the assets would be distributed of the debtor. And like what are the decisions to be taken are everything decided by the COC, and the resolution plan has to be accepted by each of the creditors.
Correct. See, committee of Qatar. See, why I am stressing upon each and every word. You being law students, you have to give importance to each and every word, because we are a legal professional. What is our role? To interpret. How can we interpret? Only if we read each and every word carefully, we understand the meaning of each and every word carefully, and then we interpret it. We understand, and then whatever is beneficial to our client, we frame our arguments. We frame our make our grounds. Committee means there is a committee of creditor. Word I used is committee of creditor. I did not use the word committee of financial creditor or committee of operational creditor. Why? There has to be something behind it. The framers, they must have thought about all those things. Because this code defines two kinds of creditor, financial creditor and operational creditor. But when they form a committee, they use the word committee of creditor. Why? That is a second step. Who will become member of the committee of creditor? If there are financial creditor, there are banks who has lent some money to that entity. Achha, what do you call that company? In this entire process, the company against whom this process is going on, that is called
Debtor.
corporate debtor. That is called the corporate debtor. Now the COC of that particular corporate debtor, the obligation of the COC is to pass resolution. See, this entire CRE process is of 6 months, 180 days. That can be further extended, maximum up to 320 days. So there has to be in the company who take a decision. See, you need to know all those basics. I am pausing because I need to ask those questions. You should, whether you are clear or not. In a company, who take a decision? Who has the authority to take a decision?
Directors.
Board of directors. Right? The moment CRP is commenced, the board of directors get suspended. All the powers of the director get suspended. From the date of commencement of CRP, from the imposition of the moratorium, the director's power cease. They can't take any decision. So who can take decision?
The resolution of the
IRP and RP. No. IRP and RP is appointed by the court. That is true. But the CRP regime is called creditor in control. Means Who is at the control? The creditor. Creditor means there is a committee of creditor. So there are various resolutions which has to be passed by the committee of creditor. Committee of creditor means there is a committee, right? Board of director means there are not only single person, there are multiple persons. There are multiple minds, right? When I use the word COC means this is a combined body. There is not a single persons. So the RP or IRP who is there, IRP and RP has to act as a neutral. Now the COC has to pass resolution during the entire CRP process. There are multiple kind of resolution which come before against the before IRP or RP, before a company, right? So there are few resolutions which has to be passed with 50% voting right, and there are few resolutions which has to be passed with 66% voting right. Now the next, the query which should come in your mind: who decides voting right? Who decides voting right? That is based on what? Say for example, against a company A, there are 10 banks. Total value of their claim is 100 crore. One bank, which is the lead bank, SBI, singly the loan of SBI is 50 crore. Bank of Baroda has 20 crore, and other banks has some has 5, 6, 7, 2, 1 crore, something like that. So how you will decide the voting right? There are 10 banks. Whether all banks have equal value of their vote?
The bank with
In our elections, the value of our vote is single. Correct? But in the committee of creditor, this voting right is not based on the per head. If there are 10 members, it doesn't mean that each member has the equal right. That is based on the claim of that particular financial creditor. Why? What is the objective behind putting the rationale of the claim? Why it is not per head?
So because the one who gives more loan is more rightful towards the assets or the recovery which will be gained.
Correct. So that is the rationale. Say for example, if one person's total claim is only 1 CR, other person's claim is 50 CR. So the decision taken by both can't be same, because both has different footings, both have different rights, and the one person's financial creditor should not be in a position to withhold any resolutions which the 50% stakeholder is willing to pass. Correct? So the voting right is based on the proportionate of their claim. Now what will the IRP, after IRP, what is interim resolution professional? He is appointed only for the period of 30 days. During the 30 days, within 40 days, he has to compile. See, I am going very slow because this is a very new law and you haven't all come across all these proceedings. So I am going step by step. IRP is supposed to do what? He is supposed to collect the entire claim, make a committee of creditor within 14 days, and call this first meeting of the committee of creditor within 30 days. Now the within 30 days first meeting of the committee of creditor has to be called. There is one resolution which must be put before the COC, which is in the first COC is either confirmation of that interim resolution professional as resolution professional. Interim means what? He is temporary. He is temporary only for the period of 30 days. Why? Because he is appointed, he is proposed by the only persons who filed that application, section 7. So if it means he will be some kind of bias against that persons. Now, only if a person's whose claim is report is more than 1 lakh, he can also propose in a Section 7 application. At the same time, if a SBI which claim is around 50 crore, if they do not take proactive step, if a person whose claim is only 1 crore who propose, it means the person who is proposed by that person will remain as a RP. They will entirely, there will be a negativity throughout the process. Therefore, he is appointed only for the interim purpose. And anybody who is of the choice of majority of the people, with more than 66% of the people, of the entire COC members, he should be appointed as the RP. He is appointed only RP. So IRP's appointment should be confirmed by the COC members with minimum 66% voting rights, or the committee of curtain member, any other member of the COC, they can propose name of any other insolvency professional. I use the term any other insolvency professional. Any other persons who is registered with the IBBI having the certificate of insolvency professional can be proposed by the any other member as a appointment of a registration professional. The FC has to obtain a consent, written consent from that persons. Their registration can be put before the COC. COC can pass a resolution to appoint that person as a RP. Now, say for example, there are the not meeting of minds between all the members of the committee of Qatar. Somebody is proposing name of A, somebody is proposing name of B, somebody is proposing name of C. Somebody says no, so the IRP is okay. So what will happen? There is a deadlock. Because nobody is able to reach at the level of 66% voting right. So what will happen? What is the answer? What should be done in that? Now the regulation says, in case the committee of Qatar are unable to appoint any person as resolution, his appointment should be confirmed after 30 days. So 10 days time is further granted. From 40th day onwards, the IRP will automatically get the entire duties, responsibilities and powers of the resolution professional. Correct? Till the time a resolution professional is appointed by the COC members with 66% voting right. Alright? Now we will move ahead. So what is the role of the RP? One way you are saying this is time-bound process. Other way, if we will ask you, what is the now role of the RP? RP has to publish a information memorandum. Now what is that? Have you heard this term? Information memorandum? बताओ. If you don't understand, just apply your mind. What is the meaning of information? Information means what? Memorandum means what? In your mood court, you submit what? Memorandum. आगे पूरा नाम बोलो. Of? So memorandum means what?
Submissions.
No, submission is different. Memorandum means what? There has to be some kind of booklet. Over here is what? Information memorandum of the corporate debtor. RP is supposed to prepare an information memorandum of the corporate debtor. Means what? Information, each and every information pertaining to that corporate debtor, pertaining to that company, has to be mentioned in that IM. Like how much liability, what are the assets, what are the operations, when this company was established, what were the operations, what are the going operations, what are the purchase order in hand, how many employees are there. All those things are required to whom? So that a informed decision can be taken by all stakeholders who are involved. Right? Those are basic details which are required. If you don't know assets and don't know liability, how you will take a decision? At the same time, RP is supposed to conduct valuation of the assets. Whatever assets are there, he has to appoint some valuer. And if the loan of the bank is more than 50 crore, as per the RBI guidelines, RP has to appoint. I'll use these terms and I'll take a pause so that you can understand. He has to appoint a forensic auditor. Now you will see यार forensic term तो medical में use होता है. Forensic auditor. Forensic auditor. What do you understand by the term forensic auditor? बताओ. Forensic auditor CRP में क्या करेगा? Forensic auditor means, what do you mean by term audit? You must have come across this term in the accounting. Audit mean
Estimation of cost.
and say for example there income tax audit is going on. It means what? They are perusing the entire history, entire records. Income tax audit. When I say the forensic audit means an expert has to be appointed. He has to go through the transaction of the company for previous few years and to find out if there are any kind of prohibited transactions. See, a company who has taken a loan of 100 crore or 1000 crore, today they are unable to pay even a single penny. How come? So, where was the wrong committed by the management? Either there is a loss in the business, or there are some kind of fraudulent things or prohibited transactions which are not supposed to do, they have done, or they have diverted or siphoned of the money. So, who will find out who has siphoned the money, who has diverted the money? RP is not, single person can't do it. The forensic auditor will be appointed. He has to go through each and every transaction of this company and give his report saying that look, in 2011 when they received the loan of 10 crore from the company, the same day, because he has to look into the banking transaction, the 9 crore or 8 crore were transferred to sister concern of the same company, and from there sister concern, this amount was transferred to the personal account of one of the director. Because how these promoters, they will try to evolve some kind of, you will say, so many companies, so many entities, they will divert these funds, or there are so many forged invoices created only for the purpose of to get out some money from that entity. Otherwise, company will not go into loss. Correct? If there are some wrongdoings, so who will find out the wrongdoing? The forensic auditor. Now, do you understand why all these things has to be done in the CRP process? At the beginning, I say what we are supposed to do. What is this process? Corporate insolvency resolution process. To come out with a plan, you should know where you are lacking, right? Where you went wrong. Correct? What are the things which are supposed to be not done, which were done, which are entered into? Correct? So these are the steps has to be known. Now, if the forensic auditor come to a conclusion that there are such prohibited transactions which are entered into, then RP can move an application in the NCLT and separate proceeding can be initiated. If there are some preferential transaction, fraudulent transactions, undervalued transactions, those can be reported. Now the next step is EOI, expression of interest. क्या समझते हैं इससे? Expression of interest. RP will publish a EOI in the newspaper calling for expression of interest. You will say there is a company A where there is an outstanding of 1000 crores, but at the same time there are net worth or there are assets in 500 crores, 700 crores, 600 crores are there. These are the operations. These are whatever is mentioned in the information memorandum. He has to hand over. Then he will call for expression of interest. Means to any person. If you have money in your hand or in an entity, and you find that the company which is going through the CRP process is a good concern, you should take it over, right? If you are interested to buy it, in a way you will say, I have this scope. ठीक है, do you want to buy it? If you want to buy it, you have to pay for something, correct? Or you have to negotiate. So he will call for expression of interest. People who are in this business who know it, what is the meaning of it, and they know they will do the Google, they will do their own homework. They will find out this is a in the go for them. They will submit their expression of interest. They are the funds. Once they submit their expression of interest with the RP, it means they are showing interest. You must have come across this Jet Airways. What is happening with Jet Airways?
They are waiting for
They are waiting for
an expression like
yes
a company to take over them.
Correct. So it means RP. Why I am giving this example? I am giving only those examples which you as a layman must have come across in the newspapers. These terms you must have come across in the newspaper. I am using only those terms so that you are able to understand. Jet Airways, there are only 1 or 2 EOI which were received by the RP till now. Means there are only, when I say that EOI received, means only 2 persons showed the interest in that company. Now what will happen? They will contact the RP. They will say we are interested. When you came to Delhi, so for your temporary residence, you must have contacted your friends, your colleagues who are in Delhi. कि यार कहीं तो accommodation मिल जाए, right? So it means your contact means you showed your interest. Then you must have आपने बताया होगा किसी my office is there. If there is some accommodation nearby this area, then you will go there. If you find this is okay, then you will take it. So first requirement is your expression of interest. Then only you will go there. If you find it's not okay, you will walk out. Correct? So that is how the EOI process take into place. Sometimes company receive EOI from more than 10, more than 20. Sometimes nobody will come forward. Then the RP will give them copy of information memorandum upon giving an undertaking. Because information memorandum contain all major details. See why I am using these terms. I explained all these information memorandum, all those things in great details, so that you can understand. RP will hand over a copy of information memorandum to those companies. Now, it means information memorandum is a important document which will give details of the company. Based on information memorandum, now that entity or person who showed the interest, they will formulate their resolution plan. Now one new term, resolution plan क्या होता है?
So how the assets would be distributed?
term is resolution plus plan. It means this is a plan to resolve the company or to resolve the entire CRA process in a way. In common man language, I can say. It means this is a plan which shows that how they will pay the liability of the company, correct? At the same time, the resolution plan should show that how they will ensure the operation of that corporate debtor will continue to go. Mean viability of the plan has to be checked. Correct? What is the plan? Whether the plan is to ensure that the operation should continue to go on. The employees who are there, their employment can be saved, right? So any of the I'm going very slow so that you can understand all these terms, because these are the new terms, must be new for you, because for me when the code was came into in the implementation phase in December 16, it was new for all of us. It took us months to understand all these terms. Now the resolution plan is the entire plan to take over the company, which will provide for payment of or clearing all the debts. Because what is the interest or stake of the members of the committee of Qatar or all the stakeholder, how much they will get, right? And when they will get. Say for example, there is an entire debt of the financial Qatar is 100 crore. Resolution plan, whoever submitted resolution plan, the term used is, he is called as a resolution applicant, right? He is called a resolution applicant. So he will say, look, I can't pay you 100 crore, which is the loan of the FC. Then there is a liability of the OC, employees, and others also, right? So he will say, look, the liability seems to be around 125 crore something. So what I'll do, I'll pay 50 crore to the financial Qatar against 25 crore, which is for the OC and employees. I'll pay around 10 crore or 7-8 crore to the OCs, and then he will say 10 crore I will infuse in the company, invest in the company, so that the operations can be continued, because there is a requirement of working capital. Now, working capital क्या होता है? Working capital for a company means, anybody from accounts background? See, yes.
So working capital is your cash in hand or whatever money you require to operate on a day-to-day basis.
Correct. So to ensure that the functions of the company smoothly go on, you require working capital. Correct? So in this case, a resolution applicant who come forward, he says 50 crore to the FC, 10 crore to the OCs, and 10 crore for infusing as a working capital. Total plan given was of 50, 10, 10, 70 CR against 125. It means 125 minus 75 is 50 CR is haircut. Now, interesting term है, because we call it haircut. Haircut means what? Because a COC now has to take a decision whether they should accept it or not. It means the COC has to modify their liability. When somebody says, see, look, Your demand is 125, but today I can't pay you 125. Alright. I'll pay 50, 10, 10. If it is okay to you, accept it. Not okay, reject it. So what bank will do? यहाँ पर हेयर कट कितना परसेंट है? 50 CR आउट ऑफ 125 CR कितना परसेंट हुआ? मैथ में सीखे सीखे
Around 40%.
around 40%. 40% haircut. Bank will easily accept it, happily accept it. आप बोलोगे 40% छोड़ दिया. If you see the look into the reduction plan which are approved, the average haircut is 40 to 70%. Average haircut, which goes up to 95%. Haircut goes up to 95%. So आप बोलेंगे what is this? Bank have to waive off their rights for the remaining amount. Now that is public money. But there is no other alternative. So what will happen if bank will not agree for this haircut? If they will not agree for the reduction plan, when they will reject, what will happen? Correct. So now in case this plan is approved, so what will happen? That the resolution applicant, he will come into picture. He will in a way take over this corporate return. The existing board of directors, they were suspended the moment the CRP commenced. Now they are gone. New management will come into picture. New management will come into picture. Why they are coming into picture? Because they are the one who has come forward to pay the debt of the entire stakeholders. Even though there is less, doesn't matter. The moment the reduction plan is approved by the COC, the RP will move an application before the NCLT. NCLT will pass in applications approving or rejecting the reduction plan. The moment the reduction plan is approved by the NCLT, it becomes a binding document upon all the stakeholders. All the stakeholders, including the operational cutter. Now, what do you mean by binding document? It becomes an agreement between this the applicant and the banks. Now the claim from 125 has come down till 60 in a way, because 10 he is infusing as a working capital. So he is giving only 60 to the stakeholder. Correct? So the remaining is the haircut. Now then the plan, he has to implement the plan. There is some the committee will be formed. Committee, one from the financial cutter, one from the applicant, and one the member of one the RP. They will become the member till the entire amount is promised in the plan is paid. That committee will remain there. Now of course this company will be handed over to that fellow the moment this is implemented, but the entire handover will take place when the entire amount is paid. The term can be 6 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, whatever terms that plan provide for. It means in this case, in this example which I have given, there is a success of the CRP, right? But you will say they got out against 125, they got only 60 in hand. Then also this is a success of the CRP process. Now you think about the different perspective. In this case, if the COC says no, this is too low, will not accept it. They will reject. Some other person come, he'll say, I'll pay total 75. They will reject it. What will happen? As you told, if there is no resolution plan approved by the committee of quarter and time or duration of the CRP is over, because this is time bound process, then then the COC has to pass a resolution, or upon expiry of the CRP period, company will go into liquidation. Now what do you get the time? Okay, fine. So time का भी हो गया ना? I'll cut it very short. Liquidation means what? A liquidator will be appointed. Now what is the job of the liquidator? The job of the liquidator is to ensure that company is shut down or assets of the company are sold. Then whatever they are able to recover by selling the assets, movable, immovable, or rights, obligation, whatever it is, he has to, there is a, under section 53, there is a chart given, the amount has to be paid. First, the CRP cost, liquidation cost, there is a financial cutter, operational cutter, employees, the distribution chart. So whatever they will get, they has to pay. Now what will happen after the liquidation when the entire thing is done? Because till now company is alive. Liquidation means that company is only in the ICU. What will happen? He has to perform the last right. What is the last right? Dissolve that company. So liquidator has to move an application before the NCLT to dissolve the company. The moment company is dissolved, what will happen? Achha, you tell me where the companies are supposed to maintain the records. Is there any designated authority which keep a check on these companies? Registrar of the companies. Now, in the registrar of companies, there are annual filing, annual general meeting of the company, lot of filing which companies are supposed to do, compliances. So what will happen if company is dissolved? Along with this order, the liquidator is intimate the ROC saying this company is dissolved. So when you check the Ministry of Corporate Affairs data, it will found this company dissolved. Means company, there is no more entity in the name of that so and so, so and so, so and so. Any doubt? So we understood today. What do you understand by the ABC code? Then how the CRE process has to be concluded, and then the liquidation process. Now there are lot of other things which are left out, like bankruptcy, and I haven't gone into the nitty-gritties because I have to explain you the basics first. Okay. Thank you very much.
If anyone has any questions, if they want to ask, any clarifications, any questions. Seeing none,
So there is a section in the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code which says that the code will, if there is any other act that is in conflict with the code, so the code shall prevail, right? So
Section 238.
Yeah, section 238.
Overriding effect.
Overriding. So if to what extent this section applies, for instance, and also I will ask about the Negotiable and Instruments Act, Negotiable Act, where if in case there is a check bounce case, if a person is on, or a company is undergoing cases of these sort, and they think that they want to undergo, if by undergoing insolvency, can they escape the liability under section 138? Do you think so? If can 238 be used as an overriding effect on 138 if there is a conflict between the two?
I'll tell you. As per the IBC, I say that when the CRP is commenced, there is a moratorium.
Yeah.
Under section 14. Now the moratorium is applicable only for the civil proceedings. Criminal proceeding is not, the moratorium will not be applicable. It means the criminal proceeding will continue. The 138 proceedings, which is under the Negotiable Instrument Act, those are criminal proceedings. So in a way, they will not be affected. But what is the outcome of the 138 proceedings? The final order, which is passed under the 138, is twice the amount, and the final penalty twice the amount of the check, which is the joint and several liability of the person who has signed and the bank account in whose name that check was drawn. Right? Say for example, the check was given by the company. It was signed by one of the directors. So in the 138 proceedings, the company will be a party. At the same time, the director will also be a party. And this is a joint and several liability. So in a way, if the CRP against the company is going on, there cannot be any financial obligations from that 138 proceedings. However, since this is a joint liability with the director, the proceeding under 130 will continue.
So in case of execution.
But over here there is no conflict as such.
So in case of execution of a judgment of 138 and there is an ongoing CIRP, insolvent process. So what would we do? Like how would these checks?
You can, if that order is in your favor against the company, you can submit your proof of claim with the IRB or RP, saying that this much amount I have to recover from this company. So you can submit your claim and you will become part of the OC. So if the plan is approved, you will get, say for example, there were a total 25 crores of the date of the OC. So you will get, in the plan 10 crore was given to the OC. So you will get your share. It means you will get 25 to 10 means whatever percentage is there, in the same ratio you will get. If company will go into liquidations, so whatever liquidity will get out of the entire liquidation process, you are one of the creditor in the OC. So as per the section 53 distribution, you will get your share. But that doesn't mean you will recover 100%. You will recover something as per the provisions of IBC. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insight into this topic. I hope we have gained a much insightful approach towards the insolvency and bankruptcy code. I would request sir to join for a group photo.